I wasn't someone who read constantly, but these books changed something in me. When I was just a little boy, I remember that my parents used to tell me, you need to read, reading will help you. I couldn't get myself to read back then, even though by the age of 6, I think I had already read my first book. Between 6 years old and 14 years old, I think I only read like 2 or 3 books, and I just wanted to present the first book that I remember reading, which is The Mysterious Benedict Society by Trenton Lee Stewart. And I read this book twice. First time I read it, I was 6, and I loved every bit of it. It didn't, however, make me go into the reading world. Maybe because I was so young, maybe because it wasn't the right fit for me at that time. However, I remember loving it, and this is the copy that I have from then. You can actually see that it's been read a couple of times, 3 times, because I also lended it to a friend. And I read it for the second time in 2018 because I found out that there are other 2 books in the series, and I want to read those as well. However, the books that made me go into the reader's world are The Hunger Games. The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. I first watched the first movie that came out in 2012, 2013, and I remember being mesmerized. If you remember back then, these movies like Divergent, Hunger Games, Maze Runner were very liked by everyone, especially by me. So I really wanted to read the books as well. And I remember that it was Black Friday in 2014, so November, I think, and I found these books for a very cheap price. Books were very cheap back then, and I just ordered all 3 of them. What I felt reading these books, it's very difficult to explain it in words, but I remember going into a different world. I remember not being able to stop, especially with the second book, Catching Fire. I was in school, I was in high school, and I couldn't sleep at night because I wanted to read this book. I remember I also had a fever back then, and I was very sick, and I couldn't stop myself reading it. And I think that I read it in maybe 2 days, or should I say 2 evenings, 2 nights. Whenever someone asked me, what's the book you recommend back then, it was, of course, The Hunger Games. Why did I like these books so much? Even after so many years, I ask myself that as well, but I think that the answer is because they were my first love as in books. The writing style is very easy for anyone who reads or who doesn't read, so it's very easy to get into them, into liking them. The story is, it made me feel like it could happen in real life, and I was hoping that that wouldn't happen in real life. And I obviously fell in love with Katniss Everdeen. I am sorry that I wasn't able to read the books before the movie came out, because I had already in mind how the characters would look like, at least most of them, because some of them appear in the second and especially in the third book. But even so, what I felt back then, I would give anything to go back in time and feel that again. Since I was very young, I remember that I wanted to read Harry Potter, and growing up in a religious family, I wasn't allowed to. I wasn't allowed to watch the movies, and I wasn't allowed to read the books. And it took me maybe 2 or 3 years to get the books, because back then I wasn't able to read in English, so I had to try and find the books in Romanian, and because they were so old and out of print and very expensive, it took me a long time to find them. However, when I found them, and that was in 2017, I must say that that was the best period of my life. My first ones were Hunger Games. What stayed with me after so many years after reading these books, it's now been 12 years since I first read them, and I can say that being able to find yourself in one or maybe two or maybe all characters, that stayed with me. I remember after doing the personality test that my personality is like Katniss Everdeen's. I didn't know that back then in 2014. I found that I think in 2020. Maybe that's why I could find myself so much in the main character Katniss, because so many of my emotions, reactions, thoughts were similar to hers. The fact that even though I knew it was fantasy, it felt real while reading it. It felt real to me. Whenever I go into a good fantasy book and that book does it for me, and when I say that, I mean I go there, I dream with my eyes open, and I can't stop. That doesn't happen very often, at least not anymore after reading so many books. But that's what stayed with me, especially not being able to stop, finding myself in Katniss, and feeling it like it was real, like it could happen at any time. I would recommend these books to anyone who likes fantasy, who likes a book that is not difficult to read, and who wants to get into reading. It helped me, and I'm sure that it would help anyone who wants to go into reading. Now, going into the prequels. This book, which is about President Snow, is not on my top list, unfortunately. I tried reading it. I think I read maybe 91 pages out of, I think, 500 or 600. Yeah, almost 600. I couldn't get into the story. This one, I think I got it like 2 months ago and I haven't read it yet. So I'm very excited because Haymitch was an amazing character in the Hunger Games, and I read really good reviews about it. So let me know if you want me to read it and to make a review about it. I will not make a review about this one because it wouldn't be a very good review, but I didn't like the movie either, even though I liked some of the actors. Unfortunately, it's not for me. I'm sure that it's for a lot of other people, but it wasn't for me because I couldn't find the Hunger Games word in this book anymore. And, I was very excited about the arena, because the arena in the Hunger Games and in Catching Fire, especially in the Catching Fire, were absolutely marvelous. But this one was one of the first Hunger Games, and as you know, the arenas weren't as developed as they were in the Hunger Games in the 75th, 76th, I think. It's been 12 years. However, anytime I have the chance, I watch the movies. I would also love to read the books again. And I'm very happy that these were my firsts. These books were my first love and my first encounter in the reading word, and that they did not disappoint. So let me know what's the book or what are the books that got you into the reading word. I would love to hear that.